Hi, everyone. Okay, I see a couple of council members here. I see Stephanie. I see Pat.
I'm here.
Okay, I see Pat. Is Darren and Steve here?
Councilmember Suen is here.
Okay.
Looks like we have everyone except for Vice Mayor Detrick.
Okay.
That's
So let's go ahead and get started. The council is reconvening from a special session. There's nothing to report, and I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the special meeting of the City Council at 6:01 p.m. And I want to call to order the Elk Grove City Council regular meeting on Wednesday, May the 27th at 6:01 p.m. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. This meeting of the Elk Grove, or consistent with Executive Orders N-29-20 and Executive Order N-35-20 by the Governor of the State of California, this meeting will be conducted by teleconference only. The meeting location will be the City Council chamber, but it will not be open to the public. This meeting of the Elk Grove City Council will be replayed on Metro Cable Channel 14 on Friday, May 29th at 1 p.m. and Sunday, May 31st at 9 a.m. It is being closed captioned and will be webcast at sacmetrocable.tv. City Council meeting videos are also archived on the city's website at elkgrovecity.org. For members of the participating audience who may have personal electronic devices, please place them on silent mode or mute mode during the meeting unless you have a speaking part. So if you can keep those devices muted, including if you're watching other devices like the recording of the meeting, it can create a feedback issue. Elk Grove City Council welcomes, appreciates, and encourages participation in the City Council meeting. City Council requests that you limit your presentation to 3 minutes per person so that all present will have time to participate. City Council reserves the right to reasonably limit the total time for public comment on any particular noticed agenda item as it may deem necessary. Pursuant to Resolution Number 2010-24, no individual speaker concerning public comment may address the City Council for more than 3 minutes. City Council will run a speaker timer, and after the first 2 minutes have passed, the City Clerk will state on the audio feed 1 minute remaining, indicating 1 minute remains to summarize comments. If you wish to address the City Council during the meeting, you can contact Jay Lindgren at elkgrovecity.org and provide a phone callback number prior to consideration of the agenda item. And back to you, Mayor. I think that'll roll us. Yeah.
Yeah, if you could go ahead and roll call, please.
For the roll call, Councilmember Nguyen.
Here.
Councilmember Hume.
Here.
Councilmember Suen.
Here.
Vice Mayor Detrick, I believe, is absent. And Mayor Lee.
I am here. So the next item is a Pledge of Allegiance. If wherever you're at, if you could turn and address the United States flag, and if you could follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and let's move to the next item, which is a moment of silence. At the beginning of every regular City Council meeting, the Council would like to invite members of the public to join us in a moment of silence. So if you could, join us, please. All right, thank you. And let's move to the next item, approval of agenda. I have an agenda in front of me. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second. Motion. There's a second. All in favor? Roll call.
For these items on the thank you, Mayor, for teleconference meetings, we do all votes by roll call vote. Councilmember Nguyen.
Yes.
Councilmember Hume.
Aye.
Councilmember Suen.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Detrick is absent, and Mayor Lee.
Yes. And let's move to the next item.
There are no items under Section 3, the closed session. That'll take us on to Section 4, our presentations and announcements, starting with item 4.1, which is a proclamation recognizing May 2020 as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month.
All right, is Ms. Jinky Dollar with the Diversity and Inclusion Commission here?
Go ahead, Jinky.
Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay?
Coming through loud and clear.
Okay, thank you, guys. I hope all of you and family are safe and healthy. Okay, on behalf of the Diversity and Inclusion Commission and, of course, the community, thank you so much for this proclamation and recognizing the Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. We really appreciate it. As you guys know, in the United States, the month of May, each year celebration, the Asian Pacific American Month, and the annual celebration started in 1978. I have been part of the API community for the last 11 years, and I love every minute of it. I am the OCA president, the Asian Pacific American Advocate, and the Filipino Heritage Foundation Board of Directors. There's a lot of things going on during the COVID-19 in the Asian community. We just had the drive-through food distribution last Thursday and gave away over 852 bags of food to the community. And I know the ARI have been doing this program for a weekly basis. So thank you, Stephanie. And I know that Asian organizations currently delivering lunches every Friday and Saturday at the senior houses. A lot of things going on in the Asian community during this pandemic, like the mental health, domestic violence, and hate crime. So this recognition is very important to the community in Elk Grove. So I wish they are here with me to receive them. So again, thank you guys, and have a great night.
Thank you, Ms. Dollar. I do appreciate you being here tonight, and I thought for a moment there you're going to forget your role with OCA, so thank you for mentioning that. We do appreciate your work, certainly with the Diversity and Inclusion Commission, and not only that, but in the community. For the record, I'd like to read the proclamation. This is a proclamation by the entire City Council recognizing May 2020 as Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Whereas Asian Americans and Pacific Islander encompasses many ethnic groups with diverse backgrounds, histories, languages, and cultures. The term is meant to give expression to cultural, linguistic, and ethnic diversity while recognizing common historical experiences in American history. Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month celebrates the collective accomplishments of these communities. And whereas generations of immigrants from every corner of the globe have built our country's economy and created the unique character of our nation, growing businesses, bringing innovation, strengthening our economy, creating jobs, and developing leaders. And whereas the Asian American and Pacific Islander community continues strong traditions, educating future generations of a shared heritage, promoting friendship, communication, community service engagement, and involvement, and promoting intergenerational leadership, securing rights and access to equal opportunity, creating a fair and more just society for all. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the entire City Council of the City of Elk Grove affirms and proclaims May the 2020 as Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month in the City of Elk Grove, and encourages the community to promote unity in diversity and international understanding, to develop fuller awareness of linguistics and cultural traditions throughout the world, and to inspire solidarity based on understanding and dialogue. Again, Ms. Dollar, thank you so much for your service.
Thank you, guys. We really appreciate it.
All right, let's move to the next item.
And that next item would be item 4.2, which is a presentation of the first Compassion Award, honoring healthcare workers for care provided during the COVID-19 pandemic. And Mr. Mayor and council members, for this item, we did not have a specific recipient that was identified because the intent of the award was to go out to a larger group, to healthcare workers that are out there. And this particular item was brought forward by the Compassion Elk Grove Group as a nomination for this first award. And that kind of sets the stage for where we are tonight. And the example of the recognition was inside of the staff report. But I hand it over to you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lindgren. For the record, would like to read this as well. The City of Elk Grove Compassion Award, recognizing healthcare workers for care provided during the COVID-19 pandemic. Whereas on March the 11th, 2020, the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 health crisis a pandemic. And whereas the city of Elk Grove honors in admiration and heartfelt thanks all the healthcare workers who have tirelessly, skillfully, mercifully cared for those in our community needing their services. And whereas through uncounted acts of courage, sacrifice, risking their own health and that of their families, they kept the health system running and tend to the bodies, minds, and spirits of those needing care. Support families and friends separated from those whom they love, sharing both joy and grief. Now, therefore, be resolved that the City Council of the City of Elk Grove and the community express our deepest gratitude to healthcare workers for their continuing care as together we move into this uncertain future, and we honor all healthcare workers with this first Compassion Award on this 27th day, signed by the entire City Council. And let's move to the next item.
And that next item will take us to section 5, our public comment. And Mayor and Council, what I have received to date are 2 individuals that requested to call in for public comment. And I believe our staff are pulling those folks in right now. And then there was also a pre-recorded comment that was circulated to the full City Council that was received yesterday. But I believe we do have our first speaker ready to go. Let me verify that. I think we're still making the connection.
Hi, Jason. I have the caller on the line for you.
There we are. Thank you so much, Nicole. Appreciate it.
Mrs. Knus, can you please turn down the volume in the background and then go ahead for your 3 minutes?
All right, thank you. I did.
Great. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor Lee, council members, and City Clerk Jason Lindgreen. I'm going to read the email sent to Jason Lindgreen on May 12, 2020. I specifically requested it to be read at the May 13, 2020 City Council meeting as a matter of record. The topic was the discontinuation of the office of the elected mayor in Elk Grove. It was agreed by all of you that no further communication from citizens would be read as they were form letters. The issue was put on hold. All of you had a copy of my email prior to the meeting. Therefore, this is suspect. You tried to take my voice and vote, and then you took my voice a second time. Email that was sent to Jason Lindgreen for the City Council meeting of May 13th, 2020. City Clerk Jason Lindgreen. Please read this at the Elk Grove City Council meeting to be held on May 13, 2020. Firstly, I want to be clear, I am speaking from a non-partisan voice, and it makes no difference who I voted for as mayor of Elk Grove. While reviewing my Facebook mail, I came across the article announcing Darren Soon's push to rid Elk Grove of an elected mayor. As I said, it matters not who I voted for. However, no one has the right to take away my vote. I'm not sure when Mr. Soon wants this to happen, but he wants a vote on it at the meeting on the 13th. Not only do you want to erase my vote, but you want it discussed when I cannot attend the meeting. How dare you? Don't any of you care that the world is dealing with a life and death pandemic, and our thoughts are on day-to-day worry over our loved ones? And from the look of the council members in the photo with you, I can imagine what any vote would look like. And if you were all to pick our mayor, guess who would be out? Remember, the mayor position is not yours to dally with. Elk Grove, like any city or country, is not bringing in the revenue as before this crisis slammed us all in the face. Now you want to put in an added burden of $600,000 on a whim. I am curious if you would be doing this if you had won the election. An elected mayor is pivotal for any community. I stepped away from politics after hearing, reading, and seeing the negative backstabbing within the council. Mayor Lee worked part-time in the position and spent a great deal of time dodging the negativity brought to him daily. A mayor's only chance of success is the council he has supporting him. Can any of you on the council say you put all of your efforts in making the mayor's position successful, or put obstacles in front of him and the city of Elk Grove? Instead of coming up with more divisive ideas, why don't you put your energy, intelligence, experience, and education into making Elk Grove strong again? We have people without livelihoods, depressed, ill, and hopeless who don't need to have this added to their weakened shoulders. Right now, I'd like to put my energy into electing a new city council. I've been embarrassed by your behavior, but you have maxed out my patience. Jacqueline Canuse.
And Mayor and Council, we do have another request for a call-in for comment that staff will be working on. It is from Mr. Mark Graham, and we are just going to be working towards making that connection with Mr. Graham. And thank you everyone for your patience. This is part of our process as we do the telecommuting process for the meeting.
Jason, I have Mr. Graham on the line now for his public comment.
Fantastic.
Go ahead, Mr. Graham.
Am I on?
You're on. Go ahead.
Coming in loud and
Okay,
clear,
good evening,
Mr.
Mayor
Graham.
and Council and staff. Mark Graham, Elk Grove. Oh, all right.
We can hear you.
Okay, there must be a delay here. Anyway, at the last council meeting, Elk Grove resident Diane Saturn talked to you about the petition she had delivered to the council on May 12th. Did you read that petition? The petition asked the city to deny the AT&T permit application and to place 4 specific proposals on the agenda of a regular council meeting. The discussion by the council did not address either of those requests, but your city attorney told you that you cannot change the city's master license agreement without the cooperation of AT&T. That may be true, however, it is 100% irrelevant. The petition did not ask the city to amend the MLA. All of the 4 specific recommendations on the petition are things that the city council can do by itself. Each of them could be an amendment to the zoning code, Title 23, Chapter 94, and this council could do each of them without any help from AT&T. Also, Ms. Saturn, Diane Saturn, who lives on Modena Way, right across the street from Monterey Trail High School, where AT&T wants a 10-year permit to install and operate a cell antenna, sent the city a follow-up email on May 18th, last Monday. Did you read that email? You should read it now if you haven't read it yet. On behalf of herself and to her 35 neighbors who signed that petition to the council, Ms. Saturn asked the city to do several things. To make the application and several related documents available on the city's website, to address several specific policy recommendations that are among the city's options and discuss the law related to them on the city's website, to hold a community meeting by conference call with her and her neighbors.
1 minute remaining.
And to answer the residents' questions. Basically, what its residents want is to be not only informed but involved in the permitting process. They also ask for the name and contact person of somebody at the city who's reviewing the application, and how a deadline, if any, by which they can contact the city to send in their comments on the application itself. This is all what I would consider to be good government. During the time that the council was working on this master license agreement and code amendment, I said to the council several times that unless the council makes it otherwise, the first time a resident will find out that the city has issued a 10-year permit for a cell antenna, either right in front of your house or across the street, will be the day the truck pulls up with the construction guys to install the antenna.
I think your time is up, Mr. Graham.
Too late.
Mr. Graham, your 3 minutes have ended. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
And with that, that concludes the number of speakers. There's one pre-recorded message, but that was routed to the council yesterday.
All right, excellent. Let's move to the next item.
That'll take us on to section 6, general administration information.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. This is Jason Behrman, City Manager. On May 20th, the Rotary Club of Elk Grove recognized members of the police department as hometown heroes. Sergeant Carlos Vina, Pop Officers Jennifer McHugh and Jessica Villarreal, and Jose Ramirez, along with CSO Daphne Nakahara, were recognized for their collective work during the COVID-19 pandemic. Congratulations to these excellent staff members. Despite the COVID-19 public health crisis, city planning and construction activity is continuing on several major projects. A new direct mail newsletter is currently circulating to homes and businesses throughout the city, highlighting the work underway to improve travel, add new public amenities, protect our environment, and serve the current and future needs of the community. Articles about the housing element update, the bicycle and pedestrian master plan update, resiliency plan, and projects in Old Town and District 56 offer residents a chance to learn more and provide their feedback through online platforms. A copy of the newsletter is available on the city's website. Residents can now enjoy dinner to go from a range of gourmet food trucks on Wednesdays in Old Town. Sactomofo is hosting a dinner to go event tonight and next Wednesday at the Old Town Plaza. Unlike food truck mania events, dinner to go is designed with COVID-19 safety measures in mind. Guests can order meals online from participating food trucks. Truck operators will be wearing gloves and masks. Guests are encouraged to wear masks to protect themselves and others during the pickup. For more information, visit www.sactomofo.com. Now I'd like to take a few minutes to update the council and the community on the city's response to the COVID-19 pandemic since my last update on May 13th. Sacramento County's public health officer released a new health order as well as revisions on May 26th that allows for the return of some business sectors and services, including the following: transportation, the resumption of full public transportation services, hospitality, including resuming dine-in at restaurants, personal care, including pet grooming, car washes, hair salons, and barber shops. Retail, all retail, including shopping malls, are now open with restrictions, are now able to open with restrictions. Professional services, plumbers, electricians, exterminators, arborists, landscapers, gardeners, etc. Office workplaces, including reopening of small businesses and offices when telework is not possible. Child daycare, child care, and family daycare are now available. Drive-through religious services, as well as religious services at 25% of capacity, up to 100 people are now authorized. Entertainment, including outdoor museums and art galleries. And drive-through graduation ceremonies is one of the kind of larger outdoor venues, as well as what was recently announced with political gatherings at 25% of building capacity, up to 100 people. So slowly, these restrictions are being updated and modified, and more things are being allowed to be open, with the obvious caveats of wearing masks and social distancing and just protecting each other. Gatherings of large-sized gatherings are still discouraged, and wearing a mask in outdoor public spaces and outdoors when social distancing is not possible is strongly encouraged to protect your health and the health of those around you. The new health order supersedes all previous orders and is in effect until it is rescinded or amended. To view the health order in its entirety, visit saccounty.net/COVID-19. Given the new health order, City Hall will be open to the public starting on June 1st. Staff has been preparing a reintegration plan to safely balance opening city buildings with the safety of our staff and customers. Beginning June 1, visitors and staff to city buildings will need to wear a face mask, adhere to social distancing guidelines, and other posted directions or signage. Our city buildings will also look a bit different, as we will be installing social distancing markers and sneeze guards. As of now, city committee and commission meetings will remain online or virtual. City continues to push out frequent updates through all available online platforms. The city staff completed our first virtual event last week with Big Truck Week. Analytics are still being completed and will be shared at a future meeting, but all indications are that this was a big success and hit with the members of our public. City staff are planning a socially distant salute to the red, white, and blue that was discussed at our last meeting, and a virtual diversity month celebration with the Diversity and Inclusion Commission. far as impacts to our businesses, businesses can continue to and encouraged to visit elkgrovecity.org/COVID-19biz for the latest information about financing and assistance programs and helpful FAQs, and to sign up for our BusinessWise economic development email updates. Businesses can also email our economic development staff directly at econdev@elkgrovecity.org or 916-627-3338. In addition to all the programs and activities we've been updating you on every couple of weeks, we have launched a couple of new programs over the last several weeks to support our local businesses. The first is to support our local restaurants and the safe return of dining out. City of Elk Grove issued a local emergency order on May 21st that provides businesses an opportunity to temporarily add or expand outdoor dining areas. In most cases, restaurants can now utilize public property for outdoor dining by submitting a no-cost application to the city's Public Works Department. And businesses that want to increase or add outdoor dining on privately owned property can do so without a city permit if they abide by requirements of the program. For more information, you can visit elkgrovecity.org/COVID-19biz. The city has also partnered with the state to distribute masks for use by employees of Elk Grove businesses to assist them with reopening and operating their business safely during the COVID-19 emergency. Masks include cloth face coverings and disposable face coverings on a per-employee basis. This program is intended only for those businesses who have been unable to obtain masks from other sources. Businesses can apply for the masks at elkgrovecity.org/COVID-19business. The city will review applications and contact eligible businesses with instructions for pickup. An exciting update on our Great Plates Delivered program. Officially kicked off on Wednesday 13th. The program has two purposes, which is to help seniors and other adults at high risk of COVID-19 to stay home and stay healthy by delivering 3 nutritious meals every day, 7 days a week, and providing essential economic stimulus to local businesses struggling to stay afloat during COVID-19. As of today, we have 340 seniors participating in the program and 12 restaurants. More than 8,300 meals have been delivered to seniors in need since the program's launch. As of May 22nd, Great Plates has invested more than $85,000 in local restaurants. We are still screening seniors in restaurants, but we have room for more participants. To learn more and apply, visit our website, elkgrovecity.org/greatplates. 6 of the city's homeless residents have been moved into the county-run motel shelters. There were 3 when I made this report last week, so 3 additional homeless individuals were placed into county-run motel shelters. Our navigator continues to enroll more residents and is working on permanent housing plans with those in the motels already. Motel shelters are serving all people 55 plus and those under 55 with pre-existing health conditions. Several different things going on the legislative front. We're still hopeful that there will be some kind of local government relief package. The HEROES Act that I talked about last time was passed by the House, but it still has an uphill battle. Negotiations with the Senate and the President. There was a bipartisan bill that's being floated at the Senate level by Senators Bill Cassidy and Bob Menendez. That's at Senate 3752. It's called the SMART Act, State and Municipal Assistance for Recovery and Transition Program. We're hopeful that that can gain some momentum as well, as we could certainly use any assistance that we can get in providing services to our community. And a final note is that just really pleased and proud and thank IT and other staff for all their hard work in getting all of our, not only our council meetings, but all of our commission and committee meetings in May online and virtually adjusted. So we had a lot of committees and commissions that were very successful in doing that, and we're just continuing to adapt to the new normal. So that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions the council might have.
Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, let's move on.
That'll take us to section 7, council comments, reports, and future agenda items.
Okay, item 7, let's start off with Councilmember Nguyen.
Thank you, sir. I don't have much to report. As Ms. Dollar had mentioned earlier, I've been doing a lot of food distribution and mass distribution, partnered with Farm Fresh to You, who received the USDA grant to provide fresh fruits and produce out to the community. I was able to connect that to Miss Inez Whitlow from Chicks in Crisis. And so last week, she was able to distribute 78 boxes from Farm Fresh to You to our community. I'll be giving her some more boxes again to distribute this Friday as well. Our community can expect that for the next 4 weeks, every Friday. I had the Paratransit Board meeting last week where we discussed the ending of the 4-party agreement. Lucky enough to serve on the governance committee. ad hoc governance committee as we talk about how it was going to look like as Councilmember Hume and I are board members for paratransit. We decided to extend our board terms till the end of this year. So the four-party agreement ends in June. So Councilmember Hume and I will remain a paratransit board member till December 2020. And lastly, I have Public Library Authority meeting tomorrow. That's all that I have, sir.
Excellent, thank you. Councilmember Hume.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Following last council meeting that Thursday, we had the Sacramento Transportation Authority meeting. I won't steal Councilmember Suin's thunder. The item for the November sales tax passed, and given that 4 of the 5 county board of supervisors that sit on that body voted in favor of it, I would assume that it will pass their chambers and be put on the ballot in November. I had the paratransit meeting that Councilmember Nguyen just gave the report on, and then I had a connector JPA meeting as well as a San Joaquin JPA meeting coming up this Friday. And I participated in the virtual auction for the county fair FFA kids in order to see that they were still able to sell the animals that they'd worked so hard on prior to this pandemic hitting. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hume. And let's go to Councilmember Sun.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, just to piggyback off of what Councilmember Hume mentioned, the STA ordinance will go to the Board of Supervisors for their consideration. But before that, there'll be a gauging of the county voters on how they feel about this measure serving as an economic development opportunity, being able to pull forward funds and get people to work within Sacramento County and the cities within there. So it'll be in the voters' hands at that point if it decides to go, the Board of Supervisors decides to put it on the ballot at that time. We had a SACOG Board of Directors meeting where we continued a little bit of our conversation about how to award funds and from a grant or formulaic perspective. That's in our consent item tonight to allow staff to continue to work on that with SACOG staff to find a compromise between the formula and grant distribution. And then finally, we have a Library Authority board meeting tomorrow. We also have a Library Authority budget committee. As you can imagine, the funding is in dire straits everywhere throughout the county for our libraries as well. And that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Sun. And I do not believe the Vice Mayor is here yet, correct?
I've not seen sign of him logging in as of yet, so I would say he is still absent. Yes.
All right. Just real quickly, tomorrow we have 25,000 masks that will be donated. A portion of that will be donated to the city. The bulk of it will be donated to the healthcare workers affiliated with Kaiser, and a portion of that would also be donated to the Elk Grove Unified School District in their effort to return back to some kind of normalcy. We also have additional senior care facility that will be present tomorrow to receive them. Council members, you're invited to attend. The event starts at 11 o'clock, and this is one of those opportunities in which community members came together and wanted to do something good for the community. So other than that, the sanitation meeting was canceled today, and I have air quality tomorrow, and that is it for my report.
With that, that'll take us to section 8, the consent calendar items.
All right, we have consent. I want to open for public comment. Is there any members of the public that have signed up to speak? Mr. Quinn?
I had none from before, and I'm checking on my comms here, and I am getting down to, I do not have any folks signed up for the consent calendar item.
Okay, going to go ahead and close public comment. council members.
I'll move consent. This is
Got a
Hume.
motion.
Second.
And I think we have a second. And all in favor? Roll call,
Aye.
please.
For the roll call vote, Councilmember Nguyen,
Yes.
Councilmember Hume,
Aye.
Councilmember Suen,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Detrick is absent, and Mayor Lee.
Yes.
And with that, that will pass 4-0, and that'll take us on to section 9, our public hearings, starting with item 9.1, which is a public hearing to consider a resolution confirming the Laguna West service area fiscal year 2020-2021 annual report and ordering the levy for the Laguna West service area, formerly County Service Area 5.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Renee Attar, Finance Analyst for the City. I'm here this evening to hold a public hearing for your consideration to adopt a resolution confirming the Laguna West Service Area Annual Report and ordering the levy for fiscal year 2020-21. The Laguna West Service Area was originally established in 1992 by the County of Sacramento, where it was known as County Service Area CSA 5. The City of Elk Grove assumed administration in 2003 when the Laguna West area was annexed into the city and became known as the Laguna West Service Area. This provides miscellaneous services to the Laguna West area, such as street sweeping, road maintenance, drainage service, and administration. This is the area map of, this is a map of the service area. The area is approximately bounded by Laguna and Elk Grove Boulevards and I-5 and Franklin Boulevard. This map hasn't changed in 28 years since the service area was created in 1992. The Sacramento County Board of Supervisors adopted Ordinance 1418, which established service charge allocation formulas and the procedure of collecting CSA 5 service charges on the property tax roll. To levy the service charges, the governing jurisdiction, formerly the county, now the city, must confirm an annual written report detailing individual parcels and their respective service charges. This report, also known as the engineer's report, was provided with the staff report. The formation documents establish the basis for annual increases. Since the levy is being assessed at the maximum rate, the levy cannot be increased. Staff recommends maintaining current service levels to provide an adequate revenue stream for projects and services, to maintain sufficient reserves for future projects, and to maintain consistency with the fiscal 2020-21 budget document, which will be presented later this evening. Staff's recommendation is to adopt the resolution for Laguna West Service Area for fiscal year 2020-21 by confirming the annual report and ordering the levy. This concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Nope.
Right, I don't hear any questions, so let's go ahead and then declare the public hearing open. And I want to open to public comment. Mr. Clerk?
For item 9.1, I do not have any comments that were received either prior to the meeting, or no requests were coming in for any call-ins during this item. I have no further public comment on this item.
Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and close public comment and declare public hearing closed. Council deliberation and direction.
Motion.
Move staff's recommendation.
Got a motion, and I figure
Second.
there's a second. All right. Okay, motion second. And Mr. Clerk?
With that, for the roll call vote, Councilmember Nguyen,
Yes.
Councilmember Hume,
Aye.
Councilmember Suen,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Detrick is absent, and Mayor Lee.
Aye.
And with that, the resolution will pass 4-0.
All right. Let's move to the next item.
That will take us on to item 9.2, which is a public hearing to consider an ordinance amending sections of Elk Grove Municipal Code Chapter 23.26 Use Classification System, 2327 Allowed Land Uses and Required Entitlements, and Chapter 2382 Home Occupations regarding short-term rentals.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Shane Diller, Assistant Director of Development Services. I want to make sure that you can see my screen that I've shared, the presentation this evening.
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. This item returns to you after discussions in 2019, where staff received direction to create the zoning code amendments that you have presented before you this evening to address the regulation of short-term rentals. As a matter of background, over the last 2 years, Elk Grove Police and Code Enforcement have received complaints at homes that are being used as short-term rentals. These complaints relate to houses having large parties that cause disturbances, outdoor smoking of marijuana, what neighbors have described as suspicious behavior of rental occupants or loitering. Elk Grove Police and Code Enforcement themselves have encountered a shooting at one residence that was used as a short-term rental where someone was injured, a party that resulted in attendees fighting with the responding officers to the disturbance, guest vehicles leaking oil onto the streets, and guests recklessly driving to and from the short-term rentals. For a little background, short-term rentals, again, are single-family homes, apartments, or condominiums that rent rooms to individuals for a very short-term stay, less than 30 days, usually a day or two at a time. They're commonly known by the brand names Airbnb, VRBO, or HomeAway. Through the assistance of an internet search company, we've been able to identify 150 short-term rentals in Elk Grove. So admittedly, this is a small percentage of our housing stock at only 0.001%. At the August 28th, 2019 council meeting, staff presented this issue and sought your direction on possible Elk Grove Municipal Code changes to address the regulation of short-term rentals. Your direction at the time was to make amendments to our municipal code to regulate the short-term rentals as strictly as possible through the use of a conditional use permit and changes to our zoning code. At that August meeting, we did not present the concept of full prohibition of short-term rentals, as that was not an option that staff at the time was certain would withstand legal challenge. We've since completed the review of that angle, and staff has determined that full prohibition of short-term rentals would be legal to do so if the council chose to go that direction. As all zoning code changes do, we took the proposed amendment that's before you this evening to the Planning Commission at their February 20th, 2020 meeting. The Planning Commission continued the discussion to their May 7th meeting, asking staff to return with a summary of regulatory options that was similar to what was presented to you at your August 28th, 2019 meeting. But that discussion also included the discussion on prohibition. The majority of the planning commissioners, taking a 3-2 vote with Commissioners Murphy and Chairman Shuck opposed, voted to recommend that you adopt an ordinance that creates a special business license for short-term rentals and not the conditional use permit angle that was proposed to the Planning Commission. The thought behind the Planning Commission's recommendation was primarily around they saw the use permit angle as taking too much time and costing too much money for applicants or short-term rental operators. The commission also recommended that the requirement that's currently in the code to operate a bed and breakfast be lowered from the conditional use permit, or CUP, to the minor conditional use permit, the MUP.
Shane, can I ask a question on that point before you move on? This is Pat.
Certainly.
Can you go through that again? It would require a use permit for each occupant staying at a short-term rental, or it would require that the owner or manager of a short-term rental have a use permit on file?
It would require the second one. Our recommendation this evening is that the operator themselves obtain the use permit to operate the short-term rental, and it would not apply specifically to the occupants or the number of occupants.
Okay, thank you.
Staff's recommendation this evening to you is to amend Chapter 23.26 of the Elk Grove Municipal Code, specifically in our zoning code, and to amend some use classifications there. First, we would amend the definition of bed and breakfast inn and add language that would require that meals be provided and that an owner or a primary tenant or operator of the business live on site. We would also amend the code to add the definition of long-term rental as a classification for rentals longer than 30 days, or what you traditionally think of as a rental property, and to add the definition of a short-term rental as a classification for rentals shorter than 30 days. We would also recommend that you amend Chapter 23.27, which is the allowed uses and required entitlements table, specifically to require a conditional use permit for short-term rentals in the residential zones, the limited commercial zones, general commercial zones, shopping center zones, and mixed use zone districts, and that short-term rentals would be prohibited in all other zoning districts. We would also amend the table to add long-term rental as a permitted use in all ag, residential, and mixed-use zones. We would also amend the use table to lower the permit requirement. This is in conjunction with Planning Commission's recommendation, but was not part of your original recommendation to staff, but we don't feel that it conflicts. And it would lower the requirement to a minor conditional use permit that would be heard by the zoning administrator rather than the conditional use permit that would currently require a hearing before the Planning Commission. We would also recommend amending the home occupations tables and lists in Elk Grove Municipal Code 23.82 in order to both clean up some language that is conflicting there with other chapters, and to add in specifically the use of a short-term rental. So we would remove the use of boarding house, bed and breakfast, hotel, timeshare, condominium from the prohibited home occupation list, since it's not currently prohibited and requires a CUP. And our recommendation this evening is to continue to allow it with an MUP. We would add the use of hotels and motels to the prohibited home occupation list, as it's not currently listed there, but considering the fact that the use of some short-term rentals can be very much like a hotel or motel, we feel like it's important to include that land use classification clearly in the prohibited home occupations list. And then to add the bed and breakfast inn and short-term rental classifications to the restricted home occupation list. And specifically that language would point back to the land use table requirements, and that the restriction there would be that they would need to obtain the permits that staff is recommending this evening. There are alternatives to staff's recommendation. One is the special business license that the Planning Commission recommended. Again, the Planning Commission recommended it primarily because of its lower cost and faster turnaround time than the use permits provide. The regulation of a special business license on the back end, on the code enforcement end, if you will, is similar to the use permits in that conditions can be placed on those special business licenses, and the violation of those conditions or other violations of the municipal code could be added to a new section that would govern these special business license to allow the license to be revoked. You do have the option of full prohibition. You could direct us to amend the municipal code, and specifically the land use table in Chapter 23.27 to prohibit the use of short-term rentals in all or selected zoning districts, depending on what your decision would be there. Lastly, rather than the conditional use permit for short-term rentals that council is recommending, or that staff is recommending this evening, you do have the option of the lower minor conditional use permit, as we're recommending for the bed and breakfast inn. There are financial considerations. The current municipal code language does require, and we're not proposing any changes to it, that property owners operating or offering short-term stays do pay transient occupancy tax, or TOT. We've estimated, based on the number of rentals found with the assistance of both staff searches and the internet search company that we work with, that TOT revenue, if fully received, could be as high as $156,000 a year. The company Airbnb, which operates a large portion of the short-term rentals in the city, does have a program where the city could partner with them to have the TOT collected, and they would pay the city directly on behalf of the hosts. I'm happy to go back to the alternatives or to any of the slides that govern the options or the recommendations provided for you this evening. I've received great help and input from planning staff and from the city attorney's office in preparing this item and navigating through the planning commission meeting back to here. So at this point, I'm available for any questions.
Are there any questions?
Yes, if I may.
May I have a question?
Go ahead. Is that Councilmember Hume?
Shane, this is Darren.
Okay.
Councilmember Soon.
All right, Shane, this is Councilmember Soon. I was just curious on the minor CUP or MUP, I should say. You don't. I just want to confirm you don't have any restrictions on what conditions you could impose, do you?
No, at this point, we don't have any specific recommended restrictions other than the on-site requirement for the bed and breakfast inns that was built into the bed and breakfast inn definition. Staff at this point would be open to any conditions that planning could keep as sort of canned conditions that would apply to those use permits as they're adopted or as they're issued over time. We can also create specific conditions as planners would take in these applications and would review the specifics of each operation in order to make sure that that particular operation was operated in a way that didn't provide for a nuisance or for a problem for the neighborhood.
Right. So in essence, you could get the same effectiveness as a CUP, but you're as you say in here, it's not too onerous and costly for the operators.
Correct.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hume.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the coming back to me. Shane, appreciate all the work that you and your staff and the city attorney's office and the commissioners put in on this. Why would it be allowed in the various commercial zones?
Primarily because the philosophy we're looking at here is that, and one of the reasons why we're looking at regulating in the first place is because it is a commercial use. It's a money-making, revenue-making venture. So it seemed appropriate to allow, should there be a structure of some kind that had residential capability, to allow in those zones. We don't anticipate that we will have much opportunity there for operators, but it seemed counterintuitive to the philosophy of the regulation in the first place to prohibit it in commercial zones when the argument we're making in the beginning is that it requires regulation as not a typical residential use, but a commercial use in a residential area.
Okay, I think that's a slippery slope, but I'll come back to it. Was there ever any consideration with respect to a minimum stay so that a short-term rental would be less than 30 days, but more than, say, or at least 2 nights or 3 nights?
There has not been a discussion or a consideration of that type of condition.
Okay. And then my final question for now is with respect to the new definition, it says any residential structure or portion of any structure. And so does that mean that if there's a house with 4 rooms, the operator could essentially rent out each room to different parties?
Yeah, the reason why the portion of any structure is included there is because these are sometimes and quite often a carved out area, say an accessory dwelling unit or a suite inside of a home or a larger residence that can be rented on its own. And so we wanted to make sure that we captured the full breadth of what the business model allowed for in regards to the rental options for the hosts. I'm not sure that answered the whole of your question, but specific to the language and how it was written, that's why we landed on that.
It speaks to your intent, that's good enough to get me where I need to go. So I'll reserve the rest of my comments until any public comment. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I have some questions.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, sir. So the fiscal impacts, I was reading it, and it says that through a firm host compliance, you found that there are 150 short-term rentals, but is it correct that only 3 of them are registered?
Yes, it would be accurate to say that right now we have 2 or 3 that are paying transient occupancy tax and registered with the city. Code enforcement has had cases related to either those or another small handful of them. So we do not receive complaints on the vast majority of the 150 that we've located. The ones that have registered with the finance department for TOT, 2 of those were born out of a code enforcement case from 2019. And then again, the others that we talk about in the background section with the fights and the disturbances are a very small section of the total 150 that we identified.
And it's a requirement that they have to register, correct?
It is, yes.
Do we know when they became a short-term rental, and can we go back and get them from when they started becoming a short-term rental, collect from back then?
We can do some work if the host company is willing to work with us on records. I'll be honest with you, the companies involved, Airbnb has been the only one we've been in contact with, and the contact's been minimal. The companies are hard to contact from the consumer side, and they've not been very forthcoming with records or information. So I would say it's probably an uphill battle to retroactively recover any of that lost revenue. It could be something that we could work through with a condition on a permit to attempt to at least lock them down now going forward. But I'm not optimistic that we'd be able to recover any of the past TOT that would be owed.
And then and this might be going far deep into it, would there be any way for you to then break it down some more and say, like, in 2016 there were this many, and 17, how many more increased in short-term rentals in our city, and then even going further into districts to where I know they're mostly in District 4, but it'd be nice to kind of see if you have it. If not, we can kind of look into that a little later.
We do have the ability to break it down by district. There's mapping tools available there's several internet companies that partner with cities and counties to do this work, and they can map it like that. I don't know that they have the ability to go back into internet history to find what has been rented in the past. I think at least the ones I've spoke with and worked with on this project so far have only been able to take a current snapshot of what's available on the various rental sites in the city.
And then, thank you, Mr. Diller. And then, Mr. Hobbs, this question is for you. Is there any way, if there seems to be maybe like a 1, 2, 3 strikes, we revoke your permit kind of a thing? Is that something we can do?
Yeah, you can impose something like that as part of the conditions for the permit. Keep in mind that when you revoke a conditional use permit or a minor conditional use permit, the owner is entitled to due process. So that would have to come back to the hearing body, whether it's a zoning administrator or the planning commission, to confirm that there was a violation. But that something like that could be imposed as part of the permit process.
And then have we, to Jill, or maybe this might be for you, have we encountered any more issues with some of those short-term rentals that you mentioned earlier with some issues?
We don't have any of the high-profile issues that we saw last summer. We have a steady series of complaints on a couple that code enforcement is working on. that up until this meeting are still on our radar as far as violating the code and either operating intermittently or have just recently ceased operations based on a notice issued by us. So there is still some level of activity there, but I wouldn't say it's much higher than it had been generally over time, and certainly not to the degree that we saw last summer.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Diller. That's all that I have.
Just a quick question, Mr. Dillard. Being that the communication with these various companies is difficult, how do we, as a city, even be on top of this, regardless of whichever direction that we head?
What we've determined in researching this project is that there are a number of companies that provide internet search tools to us. And so the strategy I would look to employ is to get a contract with one of these firms and to partner with them to stay on top on the internet side of what is being offered for rent in our city limits. And then they would provide that information to code enforcement that would be able to ensure that it has either the permits that are necessary, or we'd be able to issue notices to require they obtain the permits and cease operating until they've got them in place.
Okay, and so, you know, I mean, along the same lines of what sort of penalties we can impose, couldn't we build it in such a way that if somebody was to decide to rent out their place, and instead of coming to the city and sharing with us that their intent is to do that, couldn't there be a penalty if we were to find out in another way and they didn't have a permit?
Yes, the code enforcement process itself is set up to allow for compliance, an opportunity to correct, if you will, where we issue a notice that someone's violated the code, and then they're provided an opportunity to correct. Because this violation would be a zoning code issue, we're obligated to give them that opportunity to correct before moving forward to an administrative citation. And so there's probably little we could do right off the bat if we found that they, I mean, as far as a penalty goes.
I see.
The bodies that would approve the permits, though, and this is just anecdotal, I have seen them take into consideration when receiving a permit application the fact that an owner or an applicant had been operating illegally prior to the application, and either working conditions in there that would ensure that doesn't continue to happen, or there's not issues there, or in one situation I can recall they were hesitant to issue the permit.
Okay, all right. So it sounds like it would be along the lines of the warnings that you would issue in code enforcement.
Yes, that would be the primary process we would use to address operators without permits, to ensure that they come in for permits and get into compliance.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other questions? Hearing there are none. I'm going to go ahead and declare the public hearing open for public comment opportunity. Mr. Clerk, anyone from the community, the public that signed up to speak?
Indeed, Mayor and Council, we did receive 2 written comments, and both of those individuals that submitted written comments also asked to call in this evening, and I believe staff has one of them online. And then I did receive an email during the meeting of an individual that wished to speak, but what I'm trying to do is secure a phone number. They've not provided a phone number. So if they are listening and they do desire to call in, what it is we need their phone number to send over to us so that we can get them lined up. But I believe right now staff does have, I want to say, Miss Melissa Garcia on the phone line, and I'll confirm with staff on that.
Yes, Jason, we have Miss Garcia.
All right, we're ready to go then.
Ms. Garcia, you can go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Melissa Garcia, and I am a short-term host in the city of Elk Grove and in the city of Sacramento, and also the county of Sacramento. I just wanted to say my experience with being a host for short-term rentals, because I feel like when a lot of people have emotions about someone moving next door to them that they don't know, they tend to complain, and it tends to be an emotional subject. For me, I have one property in Elk Grove that I rent to almost exclusively families that their house burned down, or they had some issue with their property where it needs to be rebuilt. The last family that I had stayed for almost 6 months. Initially, they were going to stay for about 2 months, but the insurance company kept extending until their house was fully rebuilt. It was a mom, dad, 3 kids, and 2 big labs. They went to the local elementary school. They also worked in Elk Grove, so it was very important to them that they stayed by their house while it was being rebuilt and by their kids' school. Prior to that, I had a family for about 6 weeks that their kitchen needed to be rebuilt. And before that, I believe it was about a year where their house was being rebuilt.
1 minute remaining.
For me, to be able to house these families that would otherwise have to live out of a hotel for several weeks to several months, and maybe even put their animals in a kennel while this is happening, is really important that I could help these people and families specifically. I don't do weekend Airbnbs. That's definitely something I would never consider. It's always family friendly, several months, sometimes a few weeks. I've even had a year-long stay. But I have had many neighbors that complained about my particular guest, and there was no real merit for it. I believe that it was based on their race. I would have older Caucasian retirees who would just
I believe your
tear
time's
down
up, me.
these families
Ms.
that were just
Garcia,
trying to be families.
Your 3 minutes are up now. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Mayor and Council, our staff are reaching out to our second caller, who I believe is Ms. Judith Parks. And once we make that connection, we will patch her through. Again, I've been trying to make contact with someone who's kind of playing email tag with me, but I've not been able to receive a phone number as of yet. So I believe this will be our second commenter. It'll be our third commenter, but I will keep trying and see if during the comments of our next individual. And still playing a bit of phone tag, and we're still having some issues trying to connect with folks here.
Hi, Jason. I have Judith Parks on the line. You can go ahead, Ms. Parks. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Oops, sorry.
You can go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry, I dropped my... Members of the Elk Grove City Council, my name is Judith Lambert Parks. My husband and I own a home in East Elk Grove, 95624, in the city of Elk Grove, California, since October of 2008. Beginning in August 2016, Evolve Vacation Rentals has managed our home as a short-term vacation rental. We are snowbirds and rent our home in Elk Grove October through May each year. Otherwise, we reside in Wickenburg, Arizona. Monthly, we pay a 12% city tax to the city of Elk Grove, and we have a permit to rent with the city of Elk Grove. We live in a quiet residential neighborhood, and we live in close proximity to our neighbors. Renters are first informed by Evolve Vacation Rentals of restrictions at our home. Besides that, prior to their stay, I send my own welcome letter, which further reminds renters of my expectations, such as refrain from disturbing our neighbors, no music allowed outside, the use of the pool no earlier than 11 a.m. and no later than 9 p.m., leave doors and windows closed at all times, use AC and ceiling fans, park cars in driveway or garage, no street parking, no parties or events allowed, no pets, no smoking, occupancy is limited to reserved guests only, and I also call or text before reservations begin and ask if they have any questions or concerns.
1 minute remaining.
My intent today is to express to the City Council members the steps I take to make sure that guests respect and don't disturb my neighbors. I urge the members of the City Council to work together to reach a compromise, allowing homeowners to continue to rent their homes as short-term vacation rentals in the city of Elk Grove. Thank you for your time and consideration. Judith Parks.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else?
And Mayor and Council, I think I got it cleared up. I think that was our other caller who we were on a different contact. They had a different email address. So I do believe we have concluded with the submitted request to speak in public comment for this item.
All right, excellent. At this point, I want to close public comment, and I want to declare the public hearing closed. Council deliberation and direction. Members?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, this is Pat. I'm not in favor of an outright ban, but I do think that the reason we're having to consider this item is because of abuse of what it's intended to provide and how it is being used by unsavory operators and unsavory residents, and that are not taking into account the obviously sensitive nature of the residential neighborhoods that these things are typically located. So with that being said, I would want to tighten up the language under short-term rental. I would want to include a minimum stay of at least 2 nights to prevent sort of the let's rent it for 1 night for a party or whatever. I'm not sold on allowing it in the commercial zones yet. I think that opens up a potentially bad situation that I'm not convinced yet that it makes a lot of sense to me. And I guess generally, you know, I'm for what these are intended to provide, and as the 2 callers that mentioned, they do meet a need. So I'm trying to figure out how to allow them, but I also want to give us the opportunity that cuts down on the potential for nuisance situations. And in that regard, I would be in favor of allowing or creating the special business license, something that's a lower threshold to allow these people to use their properties. And then, you know, have a ratcheting system wherein if there is a complaint against their property, then it goes up to an MUP or a CUP. So those are all my comments at this point, but I'd be interested to hear what my colleagues have to say.
Members?
I agree with Councilmember Hume. I think this came to us several months ago, and they were constituents in my district that were complaining, and I voiced that I had one as well too. I actually have quite a few right in the area that I live in, and that different cars every weekend, right? And parties and sororities and fraternities having weekend parties as well too. And so it became a nuisance for us. And so I understood what they were saying when they came to our council meeting. So I understand what the two callers spoke earlier. I get it. Some folks use this as an income and they're responsible, just like the two callers that called earlier. I do want to see some language around, I think Councilmember Hume said it, that, you know, if you're not a responsible owner and you're renting it out just to rent it out and you're not doing your due diligence on the people you're renting it out to, that we do put something in there in place where it can be revoked. You know, the permit can be revoked or whatnot, if that's something that is doable.
Councilmember Hume? Councilmember Soon?
Yeah.
Sorry, you guys look alike.
I think this is something where there's going to be a little bit of trial and error as we embark on this. I think the intention is good, though. Trying to prohibit or prevent the abuse. I agree with Councilmember Hume's minimum 2-night stay. I think that would be a good deterrent against a one-night party type of thing. And I would support the MUP, something that is less onerous. I think, Councilmember Nguyen, with the MUP, we could impose those kinds of conditions. I'll defer to Shane on that, but that was my hope, is we could get to some, recourse language in there if violations were found. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Councilmember Hume, I'm a little bit curious. How did you envision a system in which would ratchet up the penalty or restrictions? Any specifics on that?
Well, so I would, and Shane probably would be able to get deeper into the weeds on this, but I would envision it something where there's a lower threshold. At first blush, we trust you, you trust us, you trust they trust the people renting, and then if there becomes a situation where it's a nuisance, then okay, now you're going to have to go through the more formal, more expensive process to see whether or not you're going to be considered to continue to be allowed to operate.
So, Councilmember Hume, Mayor Lee, I have a thought on that. Let me just throw it out and you guys can decide whether or not you like it or not. One of the things that you might consider doing, if you do go down the special business license route, then you could provide in the code a certain number of city verified complaints, 3, 5, whatever you're comfortable with, and they have to be verified by the city. And if that were to occur, then their special business license would be revoked, subject to their ability to get either an MUP or a CUP, whatever the council wants to do. But if you try it to some metric like that the city would verify, that might be a mechanism for you to kind of ratchet it up, so to speak.
And that's exactly what I was thinking, is something that allows them a lower bar, assuming that they are genuine operators with genuine interests, and then to the extent that they aren't managing their property adequately, and that, as you say, it's verified by a city response, code enforcement or police or whomever is called out, then it either gets revoked entirely or they have to go up and go through a more formal process.
Yeah, that's exactly my thought. Mr. Hobbs is something that's very clear. Otherwise, it just becomes a little bit loosey-goosey. So I'm not stuck on the details as to how we're going to go about this. I'd say, for me, I'd leave it up to code enforcement to develop a hierarchy and approaching it. So I don't know, Councilmember Hume, I think we all kind of like your idea. You want to go ahead and make the motion with the specifics as to variation?
So I
go ahead, Councilmember Hume. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say there were actually 3 ideas that I threw out there. One being the tiers of entitlements, and the other one being some sort of minimum stay. The other one being not allowing it in the commercial zones, or at least I need to hear more justification on that. And then I just remembered one that I didn't mention, and that is I'd like to have the language tightened up where it talks about a portion of any structure. I understand the intent as Mr. Diller explained it, but the idea that you could essentially be operating a flop house with all 4 rooms going to different individuals every night of the week, that to me doesn't meet the intent of what we're trying to preserve in our neighborhoods.
Mr. Hobbs?
Yes, sir. Let me offer a suggestion. We've heard a few ideas, and I think there's sort of general consensus. If the council agrees with that last point, we can certainly clean it up. But we're going to have to do a little bit of work at a staff level to codify what we're talking about. Now, I would suggest that the most convenient way to do that, to make sure that we capture the council's intent, is why don't we, the public hearing is closed, but the council could continue this out to a date certain. I would suggest June 24th to be the second meeting in June. We'll bring it back on the regular agenda and incorporate the concepts rather than to try to write the language, which would be a little different than what we brought as a staff level. I want to make sure we get council's intent correct. We have time on this. It's not time sensitive. So I would suggest that you give us a chance to put it over and clean it up a little bit consistent with your direction.
All right, I'm fine with that.
Sounds good.
I'm willing to make that motion to move it to the June 24th meeting. Do you need further consensus on the individual items?
No, I think we got those. Certainly the final vote will be for the city council. So if there's something in there that you don't like, we can tweak that at the time. So I'm comfortable if you just give us a motion to continue, and we've got direction on that.
Second.
All right.
Second.
We don't need a vote, right?
Let's have a vote, please, since we're doing this remotely.
Got a motion, second. All right, roll call, please.
And this is to continue this item with the direction given for return for consideration at the June 24th, 2020 regular meeting. For that, we have motion by Hume, second by Nguyen. Starting off with Councilmember Nguyen on the roll call vote.
Aye.
Councilmember Hume.
Aye.
Councilmember Suen.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Detrick is absent, and Mayor Lee.
Aye.
And this item will return on June 24th.
Thank you.
All right, let's move to the next item.
With that, that'll take us to section 10, our regular agenda action items and recommendations, starting with item 10.1, which is to receive the presentation of the proposed fiscal year 2020-2021 annual budget.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. This is Jason Behrman, City Manager. I will be making the presentation regarding an overview of the budget. And just so that you know, the draft budget document is not yet available for review. This is kind of a preview of what that document's going to look like. We hope to get that out in short order, available on the city's website, as well as hard copy distribution shortly. And then we'll have a more detailed discussion, which Shana Ryan, Budget Manager, will present to the City Council on the June 10th agenda. So no action tonight is required. This is really an update and an overview of what to expect in the upcoming budget, and then opportunity for council to provide any direction and ask any questions of staff. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here on this PowerPoint presentation, and we'll go ahead and go through this. All right, everybody see that on their screen?
Yes.
Looks good.
All right. Okay, just to start off with a little bit on the numbers. So what we've been presenting to you is a total budget of $305 million. That does represent an increase.
Jason, Jason, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
My screen shows content can't be displayed.
Anybody else seeing that?
Nope,
No,
I'm
mine
seeing
is-
the slide.
Mine is fine.
It's clear on our side, and I think our broadcast is going out clear. So that could be something local on the system you're using, Councilmember Suen.
Let me try something different.
Shane's presentation came through fine.
Try this.
Oh, there it is. Yep, I see it now.
Is that better?
Yep, thank you.
All right, no problem.
Now
Everybody else can still see it?
I can see it
Coming
now.
through. It's a little bit in reduced size, but that's okay. We can still see it.
Okay.
Folks can also increase the size on their monitors too.
Okay. So the Total budget is $305 million. That is an increase over the current fiscal year, which is primarily due to some capital projects, large projects that we have scheduled for next year, including Camera Road, Grant Line, and others, as well as some carryover projects from the current year. So it really is a little bit misleading by itself. The general fund, which funds most of our general operations, including our police department and other administrative functions, is $74.4 million. That does represent a decrease from the current fiscal year of $3.5 million and a further decrease of $5.7 million from the fiscal year 21 budget that we presented to you last year. As a reminder, the council does a 2-year budget. And so when we took the budget to you last year, you adopted a 2-year budget for fiscal year 20, which is the current fiscal year, as well as fiscal year 21, which starts on July 1. So in comparing what the council adopted last year, that represents a $5.7 million reduction starting on July 1, the next fiscal year. As far as the general fund reserve and balance, and this becomes really important with all the COVID-19 revenue reductions, what I'll get into in a second, but this shows the city starts this pandemic in really healthy financial condition. We've done a great job with council support over the years of building up a healthy reserve that we can rely on in times of distress. And so this provides an outline for you of what we have in the bank, or what we project to have in the bank as of June 30th, 2021. So about an $18 million reserve for economic uncertainty. That represents 25% of appropriations. This is all general fund dollars. $3.6 million in our opportunity reserve, which represents 5%. $800,000 for future target reserve. That's kind of money held back that we can use to fully support these other reserves in future year. $4.5 million for future capital projects. $39,000 in our economic development incentive fund, and $43,000 in our small business economic development incentive fund. There's quite a bit of money still remaining in those economic development funds in the current year. Some of that which will be used to balance some of the deficit that we have because of COVID-19. Others are set aside for future economic development incentive projects that we have already identified. Just a little summary on where the money comes from in the city and how the COVID-19 might affect us. Sales tax is by far the city's largest revenue source at 34%. Property tax is behind that at 19%. The property tax in lieu of VLF, which is a funding source that came into being back in, I think, 2004, with some state shenanigans where they essentially reduced the VLF, and they promised to give cities a commensurate amount back in property taxes. And then other taxes and fees, that includes things like utility user tax and transient occupancy tax, gas, cable, recycling, waste franchise fees, etc., and then a variety of other miscellaneous and other smaller revenue amounts. So this is a chart that shows how really we're expected to be impacted by COVID-19. This really is looking at next fiscal year. We've already talked a little bit about how we're affected in the current fiscal year. We expect similar kind of revenue drops. Unfortunately, in the current year, really was only from mid-March through the end of June. Next year, we expect continued declines. A lot of these estimates are coming from our sales tax consultants, which do estimates for jurisdictions across the state, and so we are relying a lot on their expertise in this, but a lot of these also are just done by our staff, economic development, as well as our budget staff and our finance staff, and kind of looking at the crystal ball and seeing what we are. What we're certain of is that there's going to be a decline. We think it's going to be substantial. We don't exactly know how things are going to land. Part of it depends on how quickly things reopen. Part of it depends on just how impacted some of these various industries are. The biggest impact, really, from a dollar perspective, is sales tax. We're expecting a decline of about $4.7 million next fiscal year. A lot of that is due to auto sales, which have been down, and we expect to continue to be slow with the economy struggling, as well as restaurants closed and just the economy in general that's been hurting. Property tax, we expect a slight decline next year. The VLF in a similar measure. Property transfer tax, that's related to when homes are sold, bought and sold. There's a tax that goes to the city on that, a small reduction. Utility user tax, we expect to be pretty flat and not really much of an impact on that. Transient occupancy tax, which is our hotel tax, we expect the largest percentage drop at 37%. Not the dollar amount, but the percentage is significant. Our occupancy rate right now in our hotels has really declined precipitously, and we expect that to continue into the coming months. We hope for a quick rebound and return, but again, I think what we've done throughout this budget is hope for the best, but prepare for the worst and plan for what we think are not necessarily worst case scenarios, but certainly conservative scenarios. Franchise fees, we expect to be relatively flat, very minor decline, and then a variety of other impacts we think are, again, pretty small, just a 1% decline. We are expecting a slight increase in one of these, which is this operating amount, and operating includes things like business license fees, but the biggest one really here is relating to our animal shelters. That is kind of ramped up. We didn't include a lot of expectations of revenue, but that facility is going pretty well, and we're receiving revenues from redemptions and adoptions and so forth. So we're trying to right size and true up that amount. There's also code enforcement, receipt of fines from marijuana confiscations and code enforcement action related to that. So that is really the one, I guess, bright spot of the revenue scene. So total, we have about almost a 10%, about 9% reduction in revenues projected for next fiscal year, equates to about a $7 million loss or drop from what we originally projected. You can see there $80 million was last year's, and then now we're estimating at 73.5. So let's get into the expenditures a little bit. This is where does the money go, right? Where does the city spend its money? And this is just general fund. Compensation is the biggest thing, 68%. A lot of that is from our police department, but all operating departments have a share there. Operating costs are at 19%. Internal services, that's to fund things like our fleet and facility, IT, GIS, risk management, things like that. Small amount, there's not much from the general fund that goes into our capital projects and then transfers out. That's things such as some debt on facilities and things that we've built over the years. It gives you a sense, again, most of the city's general fund dollars goes towards compensation. And here's the breakdown by department. You can see the police department is the vast majority here, almost 67%, and then breaks down from there on governance, which is city manager, city attorney, city clerk, etc., administration, finance, IT related, planning, non-departmental, and then the revenue neutrality is still a large percentage there, even though it is going down. That's the amount of money we pay to the county as part of our annexation back in 2000. So we are slowly reducing that amount over time. So given the $7 million reduction in revenues, what have we been able to do to cut our costs to match that, or at least get close to that? And so we found and identified about $5.7 million worth of reductions. And those are in the following areas. First, again, you have to hit compensation, so that's the biggest area. And so at this point, we're not recommending any furloughs or salary reductions for staff. There, with the exception of the POA, there are no salary increases scheduled for staff as part of any kind of general salary increase or cost of living adjustment. But we are proposing no new positions being added. When we did the budget last year, we were proposing a number of new positions. We've cut those, or at least recommended that those be cut. We're not going to add any new positions while we're in this position. And then freezing about 10 other positions that are currently vacant. I'll go through that list in a second. And that nets about $1.6 million in total savings. On the operations side, a variety of different line items have been cut from all departments. A lot of that is in professional services, some consulting services and costs related to that. Travel from our staff, we were able to identify a little over $500,000 worth of savings there. Another big item, council's heard us talk a lot in the past in the community about this PERS unfunded accrued liability payment that we've been advancing, trying to get ahead of the PERS obligations, this unfunded amount. We've paid about $8.2 million over the last several years to get in front of that. We're proposing to not make that extra payment. Again, we still are required to make our annual regular payments, but this is the extra payment we're making to kind of get in front of this. We're recommending that be deferred or delayed for now. We're hoping to be able to get back to that in future years, but while we're in this crunch, we'll pull that back in. The next one is this transfer of the recycling and waste franchise fee revenue. The last several years, we've taken those funds and we've transferred into our capital reserve to build projects. We're going to take that back and just use that for our general operations for the time being. We've deferred, looked at different equipment, vehicles, large IT things that we were intending on doing. We think we can defer several of those, and so that gives us about $600,000. And then the final big ticket item here is this transit deficit forgiveness, which we've been making payments to make that up over the last several years. When the city got into the transit business, it incurred a debt when that occurred. And so we've been paying, the general fund has been paying that back over a period of time to the tune of about $835,000 a year. We're proposing to, again, kind of defer that and not make that payment in the coming fiscal year until we get back on our feet financially. So that equals about $5.7 million. So here's some of the positions that we are proposing to unfund or freeze in the coming fiscal year. One is the assistant city manager position, which has been vacant for a while. We have 5 sworn officer positions. We actually have more than that that are vacant. And typically we average about that number of officer positions that are vacant. In the past budgets, we've always assumed a certain number of vacant positions. I think last year we assumed 3. So this, in close consultation with the police chief and staff, we feel comfortable that this is a number that we can hold off on recruiting and kind of maintain that level that we are at right now without any kind of sacrifice to public safety in the community, and hope to be able to continue to add to the police force in future years as we recover. 1 dispatch position and a couple positions, actually 3 positions over our animal services department. Some of these have never been filled. Animal care assistant, as we've been ramping up and as we've been seeing workload, we think these are positions that we can hold off filling for a while. Again, these are all currently vacant positions, and we feel that we can operate our functions properly without these positions at the current time. So this is a chart that we put together that I think is really illustrative. It shows it's a lot of things going on, so I'll break it down to you. If you look at the top 2 lines, that is the orange one is kind of the adopted budget that we took to you last year for next fiscal year. And then the one that's kind of right on top of that is the adopted revenues. So you can see the budget for revenues and expenditures were pretty much right on top of each other, with a little bit more revenues coming in than expenditures going out. So that allowed our fund balance to grow a little bit over the 5-year projection that we had. The green line right below that is now the revised revenue numbers. You see that drop in fiscal year 20 and fiscal year 21. We never get back to the original revenue lines, but you can see a gradual increase in those revenues over the next 5-year period. But what you see is that revenue line is still below the original expenditure line. So if we didn't do anything, we're going to be in a world of hurt. So if you drop down to the 4th line with this kind of maroon color, that's the original fund balance projection. That's where when we did the budget last year, we thought that fund balance, the reserve amounts were just going to be pretty level, maybe a slight increase over the 5 years, and we'd be good. The new yellow line now shows if we did nothing, we didn't cut any of our expenditures, and we just kind of carried on as though everything was fine, and we didn't react to the COVID-19 revenue reductions. The yellow line shows you what would happen to our reserves. So it would be it's a pretty steep decline, so that by fiscal year 24 we have no reserves left, and that's a pretty short amount of time to fully deplete your reserves. And then fiscal year 25 we really get into the red there. So obviously that's not what we're recommending, that's not what we're doing, but I wanted to show you what would happen if we hadn't made, or we're not recommending making, the cuts that we are making. And this next slide shows you what things look like with the recommendations that we're presenting to the City Council. So again, on the top line, you can see the originally adopted budget. That blue line, that's the revenues that we originally thought we were going to be at. Now the one below that is the green line. That's the revenues, the new revenues, the new reality revenues. And the orange line now is the new budget that we're proposing. And you can see those are lining up. So again, just like last year, our revenues and expenditures are pretty well matching each other. We're trying to right size things, and we were able to get reductions to allow us to do that. And we show that extending out through the entire 5-year period. And so what you see down at the bottom is the kind of the red maroon line. That was the original fund balance projection. The new yellow one down there, that's with the proposed cuts, what that fund balance is expected to do. You do see a little bit of a decline there. It kind of dips below the original red line, but it's pretty stable and it's pretty level, and it slowly, goes up in the end. It's not quite as high as it was under the original scenario, but it's still pretty good. And this, I think, is really the image that I want to leave with you, which is we've done what is necessary in order to balance things. So the council and the community should feel good that absent some other cataclysmic disaster, or if things are much worse, in which we have the ability and flexibility to make further adjustments based on what we know today, which will certainly change over time, we're in a pretty good position to weather the storm with the cuts that we are proposing. And that's the overview of the general fund. I did want to also touch on some other funds that are impacted by COVID-19. So our transportation funds in particular are hit. That includes things like SB1, Measure A, gas tax, things of that nature. We're expecting a decline of about $2.5 million next year. That's a pretty significant decline of 19%. It does affect in the short term our ability to deliver some maintenance, roadway maintenance projects, trails, and things of that nature. Development impact fees, this is probably the biggest one, which is these are as new development projects come in, the amount of money they pay for things such as new fire stations and police facilities and roadways and parks and things of that sort. We are expecting that development to slow in the next fiscal year, and so we do show a reduction there of 27%. That equates to about a $6 million reduction. And then our development services fund, this shows a 22% reduction. Again, that is significant as we are expecting development to slow down in the coming fiscal year. Again, these are all just our best guesses about what might happen. This next slide here shows how services are impacted by these reductions. So for the transportation funds, we are moving out, and Kevin will get into this a little bit in his presentation on CIP. There has been some movement and reduction in some costs related to some of those projects that are reliant on those transportation funds. On the maintenance and operations side, the O&M has deferred or reduced expenditures in some areas like signal controllers, streetlight pole painting, which is a relatively newer program that we implemented a couple of years ago, and then other preventative maintenance repairs. I'm not entirely eliminating some of those, but certainly significant reductions in the short term. We're hoping to ramp those back up as quickly as we're able. And as far as development impact fees, how that impacts projects, it doesn't really impact project as much in the short term for projects that we have in the final design phases and things, because we typically have money already allocated and budgeted and in the bank for those, but it will potentially impact projects further out, year 2, 3, 4, 5, if those revenue reductions materialize, then it may delay some park projects or other development projects that we're looking to accomplish. And then on the development services fund, this the good thing here is that as development does slow down, there's also, even though there's a reduction in revenues, there's a similar reduction in expenditures, because a lot of our expenses are tied to the services that we're providing. We do have a contract services model. We have a core service level that's city staff, but we also contract out a lot of other services. And so the one advantage of that is we can adjust up and down our expenses as revenues adjust up and down. And so that's why we have it modeled the way we are. And so we're able to balance that fund next year as a result. So all the kind of doom and gloom, I don't want to I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about some of the big projects that we're continuing to move forward on, and the priorities that the City Council has established over the last year or two that we're continuing to move forward with. Certainly enhancing our police efforts, using more technology, being smarter, not just throwing officers in the street, but being smarter in the way that we analyze data, the way that we police. And so things like the UAS system, the Real-Time Information Center, capturing crime through video, other innovative services that our police department are employing, we're still moving forward with those systems. We're not forgetting about economic development, even though there is some reduction there and some need to scale back some of those incentives. We are continuing to seed money into that program. The amount of $200,000 and $100,000 respectively in the two incentive programs, and flexibility to do some other things. We're continuing to look forward to some innovative things on the horizon, our climate action plan, our resiliency plan, and our smart city action plan, some of which are done through grants. Again, maintenance is still a really high priority. You hear about that in greater detail, and you'll see that in the budget. Last council meeting, the council adopted or approved the contract for a new CMMS, a computerized maintenance management system, will really put us ahead of the curve as far as preventative maintenance. We still have a deficit as far as street maintenance, but we're making up ground there because of how efficient we're becoming in the way we're delivering services. So we're going to continue to enhance that to reduce that annual deficit. I mentioned this previously, but this is the PERS prepayment amount that we're not proposing to do next year, but this shows you what we've done since fiscal year 16, about $8.36 million, which is a significant investment into our future. And that has resulted in the city's pension plans being 85% funded. And that's compared to statewide, PERS is only funded at 68% level. That concludes my presentation of the budget this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions and receive public comment. Again, the draft budget document will be available soon on the city's website. A more detailed budget will be presented at the June 10th council meeting for consideration and possible adoption. And I'm happy to answer any questions that the council might have.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, I have one. First of all, Jason, great job presenting this information. It's really good information and very easy to digest. In the slide where you showed the do nothing scenario versus the recommended budget cuts, a quick back of the napkin sketch shows that if something truly cataclysmic were to happen, we've got a little over a 3-month burn rate for our reserves.
I think that's right.
Okay. Thank you.
I mean, that would assume no money coming in, right? Which
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's like everything shuts down. We got to.
But
right. Okay.
But our reserve levels, again, at roughly 30%, is pretty good when you compare it to other cities, other jurisdictions. It's in line with recommendations from CSMFO and other kind of fiscal watchdogs. So I think it's certainly would I like to have more? Yes, but it's a pretty healthy reserve, and I think it's reasonable.
I agree wholeheartedly, and I think it's great that it's there, and I think it's even better that you're projecting having some there at the outside of this.
Anyone else?
Hey, yeah, Mayor, this is Councilmember Soon.
Okay.
Hey, Jason. Yeah, I just want to commend you and others in the past that have enabled us to at least weather the storm ahead for the foreseeable future. I mean, that this is the best news we could hope for given the overall situation. So we'll just keep praying that it'll get better a little faster. But I think this is a good outlook for now. Thanks, Jason.
And let me just add one more thing, which is a big thanks for all of our staff that really rolled up their sleeves and made recommendations of places they felt that they could cut and live with during this time. It was not a fight to get departments to really come to the table and offer things up, and it was a really collaborative process. I want to thank our budget team, our finance team. It really was a great collaboration team effort. So I want to thank them.
Okay. No, very well said, members. I'm certainly very thankful to have city staff that understands this is a heavy lift, and I certainly appreciate all of your efforts. Thank you for making the sacrifices. Councilmember Nguyen?
No, thank you. I look forward to this June 10th, taking a look at this and possibly adopting.
All right. At this point, I want to go ahead and open for public comment opportunity. Mr. Clerk, is there anyone to sign up to speak?
And Mayor and council members, I have no one that submitted prior comments, and I'm doing a quick check of my comms, and my email box is empty at this time, so I have no further public comment on this item.
Excellent. I want to go ahead and close the public comment opportunity, and it sounds like we've already weighed in. Is there anything additional, council members? Hearing none, let's move to the next item.
And that next item will be item 10.2, which is receive an overview report on the proposed fiscal years 2020 to 2025 capital improvement program and provide direction as appropriate.
Thanks. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. Kevin Busey, Capital Program Manager, here to present item 10.2, which is the 2025 capital improvement program. So before we start on the next 5 years, I want to talk a little bit about the current year. So we've awarded 27 projects this year. We will award that by the end of June. That exceeds our annual goal of 24 projects. We always like to exceed our goals. We had 4 grants that were awarded, totaling over 6.8 million. And our goal was only 3 million. Really happy about that. The 2 big ones were the 3 million in SACOG funding for Elk Grove Flooring Road complete streets resurfacing, and the other 3 million in land and water conservation funds for District 56 nature area. I've got a few pictures of projects that we've completed that are not as high profile that I wanted to share with you, that you share some of the capital projects that we've done. So here's the green bike lanes that we installed at the UPR crossings on Laguna Boulevard, Elko Boulevard. That's a picture on your left. On your right, we've got the Willard Parkway sidewalk infill that we did. That is completed. Both those projects are completed. We've got the Whitelock Parkway pedestrian signal that was operational last week. That was upgrading that existing flashing beacon, I believe, to a full signal. We've got a bus stop accessibility project. We put a little bus pad in on Elk Grove Boulevard near Harbor Point. And then here is Oasis Park. This is from a few weeks ago. It's about 60% completed, should be completed later this year. Another one we have is North Camden Storm Drain. We had to upsize the existing storm drain system in the Camden area. This is from September of 2019. The construction is definitely completed on this project. Here's the Commons electrical project where we had to get electrical to the holiday tree. I like to say that Public Works helped bring Christmas to the city of Elk Grove. I've also got the Elk Grove Library where we did a structural repair of the second floor, and we replaced the flooring. And that project is substantially complete as well. Here's the Bond Road base repair work we did. I believe this happened later in the late summer, fall 2019. We'll be doing some additional work on Bond Road this summer as well, when we slurry seal the rest of the road, as well as some signal work. We've got also annual base repair work that we did, and there'll be some more slurry seal work happening this summer that follows up on that work. We also got Bruceville Road and Poppy Ridge Road signal that was installed this fiscal year. So this gives you an example of some of the projects that may not be as high profile, but that we've done this year. I thought it'd be interesting to show you guys those projects. So I want to talk a little bit about grants. Grants is an important part of the capital program. So just this year, we've submitted 8 grants. Right now, we're sitting at about 3 grants have been awarded. The total grants requests are about 11.8 million. I've provided kind of a pie chart showing where the grants have been requested. So total grants awarded so far, 839,000, and we anticipate that continuing to go up as we get into the end of the fiscal year and next fiscal year. So we're hoping to capture more grants as we move forward. And move into the overall 5-year program. So the 5-year book essentially looks at a variety of projects and is annually updated every year. When we do that update, we look at a variety of potential projects and sources for those. A general plan, different fee programs, city council mission, vision, goals, direction. We've also got annual internal call for projects we do. And so that defines kind of the projects that we're looking at. And then we look at available funding based on projection of revenue. This year's projection revenue is a lot lower due to COVID-19. And we look at the types of revenue, which are restricted and discretionary funds. Most of the funding we have is restricted. An example, roadway impact fee funds can only be used for specific roadway impact fee projects. So we've got projects, we've got available funding, and we look also at available staff resources, and we put this 5-year book together showing how all these three things align. The program is got 5 separate subprograms to it: alternative transportation modes, which is pedestrian, bicycle, transit projects. We've also got community enhancements, which is landscaping, lighting, plazas, and parks. And then drainage, flood control, stormwater quality. Facilities are facility projects, new facilities or repair and maintenance. And transportation is pavement resurfacing, traffic control, a lot of our traditional transportation projects. The capital program does not include smaller projects that are under $250,000. So the 5-year program really reflects the city's capital project priorities. The first year is part of the city's annual budget. The next 4 years are forecast. The CIP has 97 projects in it. 8 of those are new. This is less than has been in prior years. Usually we have 15 to 20 new projects, but because of the reduction in revenue, we're only adding 8 projects that were not part of last year's plan. And we've got about 30 projects that are in the plan last year and were fully funded and are just rolling over to the new year. Those are usually projects that are in construction or about to be in construction. So the overall 5-year program has about $162 million. Only about $1 million of that is really discretionary. I talked a little about just restricted funds. About $108.5 million of that is restricted. It can only be used for very specific restricted needs, like drainage fee can only be used for drainage projects, and the roadway impact fee can only be used for roadway projects, certain roadway projects. And there's about $52.5 million unfunded. That really captures potential grant funds that we're looking at trying to capture in the next 5 years. That's why going after all these grants is so important for us. So the alternative transportation modes program, that's $22 million. There's 24 projects. About 13.3 million of that is funded, and about 8.6 is where we're looking at potential grants. Changes from last year: we had to remove the Teagan Road sidewalk infill project due to a lack of available revenue to support that. We had several new projects that we added. These were more related to annual projects that we add, like the annual curb ramp project. We did add the Transit Route 110 enhancements, which is an important project for us, as well as a Laguna Creek Trail crossing reconstruction, which is at the existing railroad crossing on Laguna Creek. It's an undercrossing that may need to be reconstructed. So looking ahead for this program, what we plan to do is complete the bicycle pedestrian trail master plan update. We're trying to get that completed by the end of the calendar year, if feasible. We're going to continue focusing on the Laguna Creek Regional Trail and getting funding for all those gaps. I'm going to talk about that in a second. And then we've got Transit Route 110 enhancements, which is essentially an existing transit route that connects into light rail just north of the city. And we're looking at trying to get additional ridership on that traditional service line. Here's the Laguna Creek Regional Trail. I talked about this last year as well. It's an important part of this program. What's shown in red is essentially the Laguna Creek Trail. It begins in Grant Line Road. It goes east-west all the way into the city of Sacramento, connecting into a passenger rail station and light rail stations. The dashed red lines are the gaps that we're trying to fill with the capital program. Getting these gaps filled is a major priority for alternative transportation modes. Community enhancements, there's about $11 million for that program. It's got 12 projects. It's fully funded. There's only one new project. We're looking at a restoration of the old fish hatchery site in Elk Grove, Florida, and Laguna Creek. Looking at big picture for us, we want to complete the District 56 nature area. We want to complete the Old Town Plaza, Railroad Street projects. And then bringing recycled water to SEPA is also a major goal of this program. Drainage has about 10.7 million. It's fully funded with 12 projects. Looking ahead for us, it's really the Shed C Middle Reach drainage easement. There's a portion of Shed C that we need to acquire the right of way for that, or the easement for that. That's really needed to allow development within the Southeast policy area, especially the employment-oriented development to occur. Facilities is about $4 million. It has 16 projects fully funded. We removed the Civic Center Library schematic design, and we added the whole District 56 Library and Cultural Arts Center, an attempt to show the available funding that we may have in the CFF library for that project. We're really trying to get funding for that project, figure out different ways to do that. It's just a priority for us, so we've included that. Looking ahead, implementing the facility assessment master plan is a major goal for this facilities program. 9360 Studio Court, which is the building we bought, we need to get that remodeled, and we need to get our PD staff in that building. And then to backfill those relocations, we need to do some improvements at 8380 and 8400 Laguna Palms Way. So getting those 3 projects moving is an important part of the program, as well as I talked about Library and Cultural Arts Center funding. And with that, we're going to talk about transportation. Transportation is one of the biggest programs at $114.35 million. There's 33 projects. About 70.5 of that is funded, and about 43.8 is potential grants that we're looking for. So we removed one project, Elk Grove Boulevard I-5 southbound off-ramp. That's being constructed by Caltrans separately with the I-5 HOV lanes. No reason for us to do that. And then we've got the 2021 pavement slurry seal and resurfacing, which is our annual pavement project. And I talked a little bit about that $3 million in SACOG funding that we got for Elk Grove Fulton Road, complete streets and resurfacing. And we do have one minor project to look at extending Bighorn from Bilby Road to Cameron Road. So looking ahead, it's going to be a busy next couple of years. This summer, we anticipate Sheldon Road turn lanes, that being in construction, the Bond Road median and resurfacing project being in construction, Railroad Street, which was awarded the last council meeting, that will be in construction. Caltrans has overlays of State Road 99 throughout most of the Elk Grove. That's going to be in construction, and then as well as their I-5 HOV lanes. And then in 2021, we're going to have a lot of projects, on the connector with Grantline Road widening phase 2 and Cameron Road phase 1 and phase 2. I'm going to show a slide for that right now. So this is the Cameron Grantline. This is all going to construction in 2021. So on Grantline, we will be widening the road from 2 lanes to 4 lanes, signalizing the intersection of Grantline and Mosher, and signalizing the intersection of Bradshaw and Grantline. And then on Cameron, we'll be reconstructing pretty much all of existing Cameron Road from Bruceville to about Lots Parkway as a 2-lane road. This will all be in construction in 2021. A little bit more about Bruceville. We talked about what's in blue being in construction in 2021, and then we're going to be looking at getting the I-5 to Bruceville shovel ready right after that in red. So key points I want to make from this presentation, we're continuing to see our annual goals in project delivery and getting grant awards. We're going to be pursuing grants to try to offset the COVID-19 related revenue reduction. And then we're going to focus on a lot of these key projects that I discussed in each one of the programs. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kristen Parsons. She's going to talk just a little bit about outreach for our capital program.
Good evening, Mayor Lee and council members. I'm Kristen Parsons, Senior Civil Engineer for the Capital Improvement Program. For the last year or so, we have been working hard to provide better information and more often to our residents regarding the capital projects that we're working on. Our current CIP public outreach plan includes mailing a letter out to nearby residents after each project is awarded, which tells them what they can expect to see happening, when the work will occur, how the work will be funded, and who to contact with any questions they might have. It will also address any impacts that they may experience when the project is in construction. We've been working closely with our public affairs staff to increase the presence of our capital projects on social media and in the bi-monthly newsletter that is mailed to all residents. The last newsletter and the next one have required that much of the space be used to address COVID-19 topics. But at the same time, this is the busiest time of year for our department with the starting of the spring and summer construction season. We have a lot of information that we wanted to share. So we've teamed with the Strategic Planning and Innovation Department, and we've produced a separate citywide mailer that started hitting doorsteps this week. This special edition newsletter was aimed to let residents citywide know that although City Hall has been closed to the public and most of our staff have been telecommuting, we're working harder than ever. This has allowed us to provide information about the award of the 3 City Council high priority projects. We included a public outreach tool for the update of the city's bike, ped, and trail master plan update, and provided information to residents regarding 5 other roadway and pedestrian projects, which were in construction or anticipated to be in construction this summer. Finally, we worked closely with our GIS staff to develop a new and improved webpage, which will provide information on all of our current capital projects. I'd like to take a quick minute or two to show that website, as it just went live yesterday, and I'm very excited with the results. Hopefully you can all see that right now. So when you enter the city's main webpage, you can get to the Public Works and then the Capital Improvement webpage by either going through business or government web pages. There are several ways. If we click through Public Works and scroll down at the top here, Capital Improvements, and then Current Projects. Loading. Looks like our server is being used heavily at the moment. Usually this loads a little bit faster. As it's coming up, you'll see that it shows the viewport of the entire city geographical area. And as it starts to load, you'll see various colors depicting lines and points and shapes that represent projects we have ongoing in the city. The legend that's trying to load right now shows what the 4 different colors stand for. I'm going to minimize that for a minute and come back to that. Oh, there we go. So everything that's shown in blue is a project that's in the planning stage, yellow design, green is bid award, and orange is construction. So if somebody wanted to come find out about a project, there's several ways they could maneuver to get that information. One of the ways would simply be to zoom in, close the legend for a minute so we have more space, zoom into a location you were interested in until you were able to see this. I think maybe because of our meeting being online tonight, everything is slowed down on our server. But I will click here on the District 56 Nature Area project, which we awarded 2 weeks ago as an example. So by clicking on this area, it'll give me information about the project. Typically, there's a photo for most of our projects, a description of the project, and it will tell you what phase it's in. So again, these are color-coded to align with our legend. Information about the project. The total budget that's shown here sometimes includes future funding. There's a link. If you clicked on this link, it would open up an email in your email program to potentially send questions to the project manager that you might have about the project. And then there's schedule information regarding the project as well included. Another way to find the location might be to enter an address. Say somebody wanted to plug in their own address. So as I start typing 9615 Railroad, it should start populating. I think it's just going to be slow. So if you if it was working a little bit faster, it would start to populate that address. You could click on the address and it would zoom into that approximate area. And as soon as it zooms in, I'll show you another example. Good. Waiting. Okay. Never fails, right? For the big moment. All right, so here are two of our other high priority projects that were awarded at City Council at our last City Council meeting. In the green is the Railroad Street Improvements Project. And the orange is the Old Town Plaza Phase 2 and 3 project. So when we have these larger projects, we oftentimes will have a project specific web page. So if we went back to the web page where we clicked on current projects, below that is where our project specific web pages are located. But we have a link over here. So if you're on this map, you can click, if it's underlined like this, you'll see that it's a link. And if I clicked on that, I don't know what it's going to do. We'll see how fast it moves. Okay, moving pretty good now. This is the project specific web page for the Old Town Plaza project. So it will give you additional information beyond what is shown on our current projects website. Again, detailed information. One of the things I wanted to note on some of the projects, you'll see there's two sets of schedule information. There's various reasons for this. Sometimes a project is phased where we do a certain portion of the work in phase 1 and then we come back and finish the work in phase 2, like base repairs on streets, and then we come back and resurface it later. In this case, this project was originally bid in January. We ended up having to reject bids after we received a protest and we rebid the project. So the second set of scheduled dates is related to that rebid. And then lastly, where you do see future dates, like end construction as an example here, those are of course approximated based on our anticipated schedule for the project. I think that's it. So thank you for your time. I was excited to show that. Back to Kevin.
Thanks, Kristen. I appreciate that. Okay, with that, that's the end of the capital program presentation. I'm available for any questions or comments.
Okay, are there any questions? Members? No questions?
No questions.
No questions, Mayor, but
I just want to thank you for that interactive map. I'm not by any means good with computers and whatnot, but that really helped a lot. And you explained it really well. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll second that, Kevin and Kristen. It was a really good presentation. You guys have been busy all year long, and it's great to see all these projects come to fruition.
So yeah, I would third those comments that it's great to look back and see everything that you've been doing for the last year and kind of cumulatively all the stuff that's getting done. It's pretty amazing, and there's a lot of good stuff on the horizon. One specific question, Kevin, you mentioned the old fish hatchery restoration. Can you, I don't have the CIP in front of me. Can you go over what's involved with that project?
Sure, Pat. So there's an old fish hatchery site. I can actually pull it up on Google Earth if you want.
I know exactly where it is.
Okay. And so there's an existing conservation easement over that parcel. It can only be used, it's restricted in how it can be used. Right now, it just needs a little bit of additional improvements to restrict the access, vehicular access to it, and to do some restoration of it. So it's really all that it is. There may be some water quality benefits that, since it's right on Laguna Creek, that we could also do that would fit within the conservation easement. That's really it. We just have money for some design level work in there.
So would that primarily be the gravel lot area then that we would be looking to restore, or the old basins to the south?
The gravel lot is the primary, from my understanding, the gravel lot is where we're really looking at right now.
Cool. I'll take a look at it when I have the improvement plan in front of me. Thank you.
Great.
Okay, excellent. Since there are no additional questions, I want to go ahead and open for public comment. Mr. Clerk, is there any members of the public that have signed up to speak?
Mayor and City Council, I did not receive any comments prior. None were distributed prior, but I did just receive a very brief email from Mr. Mark Doty, and that just came in. If it's the pleasure of the council, I can read that brief item.
Sure, go ahead and read it.
From Mr. Mark Doty. Kevin and CIP staff, well done. I'm excited to see the Laguna Creek Trail getting closer to completion. With budgets tightening, projects may slow, but we can see the finish line. Keep up the good work. And that was the conclusion of the comments submitted on this item.
All right, excellent. This point in time, want to close public comment and any additional direction the council members wanted to share?
No, I'm good.
Nope, I think we're good. Thank you.
Okay. All right, excellent. And let's go ahead and move on then. Next item.
And with that, that will take us on to item 10.3, which is consider resolution levying the fiscal year 2020-2021 special taxes or special assessments for 7 community facilities and special districts.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Again, my name is Renee Attar, Finance Analyst. I'm here again this evening to present the Community Facilities Districts and Assessment Districts in the City of Elk Grove and their new proposed rates for fiscal year 2020-21. I request your consideration of them and to adopt a resolution to continue to levy these taxes and assessments for the upcoming fiscal year. Just a brief background, the city administers 7 special tax districts. They provide funding for infrastructure improvements, which may be bonded or not, police services, maintenance services, street maintenance, and street lighting maintenance. The funding is planned to match the service needs of each district. To maintain that alignment and to include future projects, the rates are gradually increased annually. Just a quick snapshot of the current 7 districts in the city of Elk Grove. There are 5 community facilities districts, also known as CFDs and Mello-Roos taxes. And as you can see, some of the CFDs, like Laguna Ridge and Poppy Ridge, have 2 components, an infrastructure and a services aspect to it. There are also 2 assessment districts. And taking a further look at these districts, at the bonded districts, there are 3 CFDs with an infrastructure component located in and known as East Franklin, Poppy Ridge, and Laguna Ridge. These CFDs are bonded, which means that they are supported by debt. They fund the construction of new projects, such as roadways, sewer, drainage, and public improvements. Recent projects that everyone might be familiar with include the Aquatic Center, the Animal Shelter, and the Civic Center. These infrastructure CFDs do have an end date where they will no longer be levied, and they're different for all 3 of them. And looking at the service districts, there are 4 CFDs that are service districts, with 2 for police services and 2 for maintenance services. CFD 2003-1 Poppy Ridge Police Services provides for the police services within the Poppy Ridge district only, while CFD 2003-2 Police Services provides for those services for the rest of the city, excluding Poppy Ridge. And likewise, CFD 2005-1 Laguna Ridge Maintenance Services provides for those services within the Laguna Ridge district only, while CFD 2006-1 provides those services for the rest of the city, but excludes Laguna Ridge. This district also has 17 tax zones based on the on-site maintenance requirements of a project. There are also 2 assessment districts that are considered service districts. The first is Street Maintenance District 1. This district has 5 geographic zones throughout the city. And then the second assessment district is the Street Lighting Maintenance District, which has 2 geographic zones throughout the city. Excuse me. And the goal of the service districts is to fund ongoing authorized services, not facilities or infrastructure, but services such as for police, street lights, and landscaping of public parks and open spaces. These districts are not bonded, and they are levied in perpetuity. Okay, and this just provides a brief, just a snapshot of the material I just covered in the previous slides, where it provides a bit more information about the geographic boundaries, and then just quickly just shows which, if it's infrastructure or service, infrastructure or service related district. And in regards to annual increases, when each district and if applicable zones were created, formation documents were drafted as well. Those documents are what guide how each district is assessed the levy and provide guidance on rate increases. All of the districts are tied to one of three rates. It could be a flat rate or a consumer or the consumer price index, for which we use the April monthly CPI for the Bay Area region, and the third being the construction cost index, and we use the monthly March index for the Bay Area. And this table, it's a lot of information on here. This table shows all of the districts and what the bases for the increases are for each, along with the percentage and the dollar amount increase on a single family home. These districts, do have rates for a single family and multifamily and non-residential, but to kind of keep this simple, we've used single family homes. So starting at the top, East Franklin and Poppy Ridge facilities do not have any increases per the formation document. They are already assessed the maximum rate. CFD 2003-1 Poppy Ridge Police Services and CFD 2003-2 Police Services are increased by the lesser of the CPI or a flat rate of 5%. The April CPI increase was fairly low at 1.11% this year, so we increased the rates by that. The Laguna Ridge facilities is increased by a flat rate of 2%. The Laguna Ridge Maintenance Services is increased by the CPI of 1.11%. The CFD 2006-1 Maintenance Services is increased by the greater of the CPI or of a 2% flat rate. Again, CPI increase was really low, so these rates increased by 2%. All 5 zones of the street maintenance districts are increased by the construction cost index of 6.33%. Street lighting maintenance district 1, zone 1 does not have any increases, while zone 2 is increased by the CPI of 1.11%. On the far right column, I've provided the current percentage that the city levies each district of its maximum rate. With the exception of CFD 2005-1 Laguna Ridge Maintenance Services, all of the levies are assessed at 100% of the maximum rate in fiscal year 2020-21. CFD 2005-1 Maintenance Services was levied at 70% of the maximum levy or has been assessed that in the current fiscal year, and will be continued to levy that in fiscal year 2020-21. Since the city has and will continue to add facilities in the Laguna Ridge district, such as in District 56, and adding new parks, such as and projects that were mentioned in the previous presentation, these will increase expenses over time. So this rate will go up gradually in the coming years to align the growth of expenditures. Staff recommends maintaining current service levels to provide an adequate revenue stream for projects and services, to maintain sufficient reserves for future projects, and to maintain stable assessment levels for residents. Staff's recommendation is to adopt a resolution to continue to levy the special taxes and assessments for the 7 special tax districts for fiscal year 2021. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any questions? It was perfectly clear. Wonderful. Thank you. At this point, I want to go ahead and open for public comment. Mr. Clerk?
And Mayor and Council, no items were received prior to the meeting and no requests have been received for anyone signed up to speak. That concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close public comment opportunity and council deliberation and direction. I'm open to a motion.
I will move staff's recommendations. This Hume.
Got a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All right. Motion and a second. Let's go ahead and jump to roll call vote, please.
For the roll call vote, Councilmember Nguyen.
Aye.
Councilmember Hume.
Aye.
Councilmember Suen.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Detrick is absent, and Mayor Lee.
Aye.
That'll carry 4-0 on the resolution. That will take us on to the last item of the night, which is item 10.4, which is consider resolutions calling the November 3rd, 2020 general municipal election to elect the mayor at large and council members by district for districts 1 and 3, requesting consolidation with Sacramento County to place these contests along with the statewide general election, and then other resolution actions establishing regulations for candidate statements and policies on impartial analyses, arguments, and rebuttal arguments. Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. I am Jason Lindgren. I'm your City Clerk. This is an item that comes back to you in May of even-numbered years as we prepare for the election season coming up in November. These actions put us into step to the administrative deadline that Sacramento County voter registration elections request us to do in order to ask for our contests to go and consolidate with the election that's being run by Sacramento County. What this does is it allows us to benefit from savings in costs for not having to run our own elections, and we kind of get the economies of scale of the operations for Sacramento County. We're also have an extreme benefit with Sacramento County and its actions that it's already taken to provide vote-by-mail options for voters, and it'll be a process in which we've actually been able to target, and the budgeting costs that we have here are those projected for having an agency be able to pull off vote by mail for us. And so all those budget projections, we shouldn't see too many changes as we saw vote by mail process being run by the county back in 2018. With that, there are 3 resolutions that are requested to be action to be taken on that you can take as a group. The other actions that are part of those are just to put us in lockstep with the elections code of the state and the regulations for how the county would run print materials that would accompany any item. So it doesn't necessitate that there's any measures or anything that are out there, but for any of those candidates that decide to file candidate statements, or if we got to a point where we see measures coming forward by around August, that we would have the regulations for how the wording count goes so that we don't increase costs in terms of what gets printed in the final materials from Sacramento County. With that, I'm available for any questions if council has for the actions.
Are there any questions? Hearing none.
No, sir.
All right. Hearing none. Let's go ahead and open for public comment. Mr. Clerk, members of the public signed up to speak.
I did not receive any comments prior to the meeting, and nothing's been coming in on my email. So that would conclude the public comment opportunity on this item.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close public comment and council deliberation and direction.
Motion to adopt the 3 resolutions by staff.
Got a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All right, roll call vote, please.
For that roll call vote for the 3 resolutions, the staff recommendation, Councilmember Nguyen.
Aye.
Councilmember Hume.
Aye.
Councilmember Suen.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Detrick is absent, and Mayor Lee.
Aye.
And that carries 4-0 on the 3 resolutions.
All right, that brings us to the end of this meeting. Let's go ahead and adjourn at 8:28 p.m. Thank you, everyone.